Hi, today at Vacuum Cleaner Advisor we're going to look at the Shark NV682, and that's the machine here in blue. You'll notice its bigger brother over here is the Shark NV752. Now the NV752 tends to be a little larger and a little heavier than the 682. The 682 here is 13.3 pounds, the 752 is 15.6 pounds. This machine here has a 30-foot power cord. It's also got HEPA filtration, and it has something called a sealed system, which ensures that the air that enters the vacuum doesn't leak out in cracks or seals before it goes through that filtration system. And that ensures that the air exhausted by the vacuum is clean and it's been properly filtered. Today we'll look at some of the features, specifications, run a few tests, compare it in some areas to the NV752, and we'll also walk through the tools that come with the machine. The vacuum comes with a host of tools and attachments. The first device here is called the Dust Away Pro, and it's actually a second nozzle for the vacuum. You can swap these out. We'll show you that in a moment. There's a microfiber dusting pad, comes with the vacuum, and that fits onto the bottom of the Dust Away Pro. And these little black tabs here like Velcro, and dusting pad attaches on 4 of these tabs. You want it to be pretty tight because you want the underside of this thing to be smooth. You can see like that. So this area here will be against the floor, a bare floor, and this head actually floats. So it helps it glide over the bare floor. The front of this is a suction channel, so there's where you're vacuuming while you're dusting. This is your basic crevice tool with a dusting brush that extends out and back. This is a brush tool, but it's got fairly stiff brushes. Now this is interesting because they've designed it so that the brush piece clips off, and you end up with a tool here that's really good for removing pet hair from upholstery, and then it clips back on if you want to use it as a brush again. This is known as the Pet Power Brush. It's good for removing pet hair, ground in dirt from carpet and upholstery. Now this is suction driven. By comparison, we can look at the tool that comes with the Shark NV752. Now this is a much heavier tool, and that's because it's got an actual motor in it. So this tool is going to be a little more powerful. Also, with the machine comes this device, which is known as the canister caddy, and that helps turn this vacuum into a canister vacuum. And again, we'll show you that arrangement shortly. There are presently 4 models in the NV680 series. Now the machines are all very similar. The big difference is really with respect to the tool set. Now what we've got here in front of us is the NV680 tool set, which includes the Dust Away Pro, the crevice tool, and the Pet Multi-Tool. Now when we move to the 681, we add the Pet Power Brush here. Moving to the 682, which is what we have here, that also includes this, which is the canister caddy. And finally, the 683, we remove the Pet Power Brush, and we add something that we can't show you because we don't have it, but it's called the Home and Car Detail Tool, which allows you to get into really tight, narrow areas. Swapping nozzles in the vacuum is really straightforward. You basically press the lift away button on top of the dust canister here, and you lift away the dust canister and the motor, and you click it right into place on the new nozzle. There's a wand release button in the back here. Lift the wand up, pop it in, click. Now you are using your new nozzle. You can reverse the process, and we'll put this right back into the powered nozzle. And there you go. Very easy. Now sometimes you'll hear this vacuum referred to as a 3-in-1 vacuum. Now that means that it operates as an upright, a handheld, and a canister vacuum. Now this is upright mode here. And it's pretty straightforward, what you'd expect. Lift away mode allows us to actually carry around this, which is the dust canister and motor. And we can also pull the wand up and use that as a, you can carry it around. You've got a 30-foot power cord. In addition, if you want to be kneeling down or maybe doing stairs something like that, you might want to remove the wand, and you can work directly with a tool on the end of the handle. So it's all pretty straightforward. Now, there is canister mode, and that's when the canister caddy comes into play. That involves taking that canister caddy here. Let's see if I can avoid all my wires here. And popping this into place. Now, that allows you to walk around with the vacuum and utilize the canister, which pulls along behind you. It works okay. Actually, in some ways it works a little better than the one on the NV682, but it's you know, it doesn't work as well as actually having a canister vacuum, at least in terms of mobility. We're going to measure the machine's cleaning reach. We'll take the wand and hose out and stretch it as far as it'll go before the vacuum starts to either tip or pull back on us. We've got a tape measure laid out here. Now let's see how far back we can go. Now I'm going off camera here. Don't have that much of a wide angle lens, unfortunately. Okay. Right about there, I think. Yeah, okay. All right, so we got almost exactly 8 feet and 6 inches. Now we've measured the Sharp NV682 by comparison, and that gave us 9 feet 3 inches. So the NV682 has about an extra 9 inches, which is okay. It's not a whole heck of a lot. This thing at 8.5 feet is, in our opinion, a little short. It'd be nice to have a little longer cleaning reach. Now, total cleaning reach includes the power cord as well, so that's 30 feet plus 8.5, which gives you, I guess, 38.5 feet cleaning reach. Now we take a quick look at maneuverability. In upright mode, find that the vacuum moves fairly easily. Turning the head is a matter of twisting the wrist. You can still feel that piece of the vacuum, this piece here, which kind of sits quite a ways above the handle. You can feel that giving you a little bit of wrist pressure, but it's not too bad. Now moving over to the NV682, it's very similar. Very similar. The only thing about this piece is heavier, and you can feel that more on your wrist. So if we had to vacuum for a long time, this one's a little, the NV682 is a little easier on you. Now, probably due to the light weight. Emptying the dust canister on the machine is really easy. There's a dust cup release lever here. It's actually labeled. You pop it up, dust cup comes off. Button on the bottom of the dust cup opens up the little trap door on the bottom, and your dust and debris fall out. Now you can see that this dust canister is a little on the small side, and if we go over here and look at the dust canister of the Shark NV682, you can see it's quite a bit larger, so you're going to be able to vacuum for a longer period of time before you need to empty the dust canister with the NV682. Now while we're here, you can see underneath the dust canister on the 682, we've got a foam filter. This needs to be washed about once every 3 months. When it's completely dry, say after 24 hours or so, you can put it back in the machine. Underneath that is actually a felt filter. Same procedure. Clean it about once every 3 months. When it's dry, put it back in the machine. So they're both washable. Now there's a third, those are both pre-motor filters. There's a third filter on this machine, and that's the post-motor filter, and that's also the HEPA filter. It's easy to access. It's just inside here. There's a little clip on the bottom, pops open. This is the filter here. Now this needs to be washed about once a year when it's dry. Again, you pop it back in, fit this back on, and that's it. That's your filter maintenance. Now I'm quickly going to touch on a few other additional features on the vacuum. Down here we've got a headlight. There's a light on either side of the nozzle. It's on when the vacuum's on. It's handy if you're vacuuming in dimly lit areas. Now over here there's something called a brush roll indicator light. That's off when the brush roll here isn't spinning. Turns green when the brush roll's on. Turns red if this brush roll jams. And it'll actually flash red if the motor in the nozzle here starts to overheat. Now if that actually happens, you want to make sure there's no jam. You want to basically turn the machine off and unplug it. Check to make sure there's no jam in here. Make sure your filters are clean. Make sure your dust canister's empty. maybe wait around 45 minutes or so for it to cool off and try again. Up here on the handle, we've got a switch that has two modes. Top mode is hard floor. Hard floor means your brush roll isn't spinning. Down here's carpet. Carpet means your brush roll's turned on. Now underneath that, there's something called a suction release valve. Now let's just run through a couple of scenarios. If you're vacuuming hard floor, you're going to want this thing in hard floor mode, and you want your suction release valve closed. That's going to maximize your suction at the nozzle. That's also the mode you want to use if you're using some tools. Now as you move to carpet, you're going to switch that on. That's going to turn your brush roll on. If it's really low pile carpet like this, you probably want to keep that suction release valve fairly closed to maximize the suction down there. But as you move to deeper and deeper pile carpet, you may want to start opening up that suction release valve, which will allow you to actually move, and it'll stop the machine from, especially the brush bar and the nozzle, from bogging down in the carpet. We like to look at the noise level of the vacuums we investigate. We've got a noise level meter here. It's set up 3 feet away from the vacuums. We run each vacuum on idle mode, which is just essentially turned on. We also test the noise level with the brush bar spinning. Now, it's a bit fiddly to do all that, and we're not going to do it here, but we've already done the test, and we'll tell you the results. The NV682 in idle mode was 74.1 decibels. The NV682 in idle mode was 74.2. It's virtually identical. With the brush bar spinning, the NV752 was 76.6 decibels, and the NV682 is 76.2. So maybe a tiny bit lower, but for the most part, they have similar noise levels. Now, they are, in our opinion, not particularly loud machines, but they're not that quiet. However, we have run machines, done these tests, and routinely seen uprights posting over 80 decibels, and those tend to get a little on the loud side, but we're not seeing that here. We've got 2 separate debris fields here, one in front of each vacuum. The debris field consists of smaller lentils, some heavier beans, some bulky Fruit Loops. Some of them are crushed up. Also a little bit of dust and debris, a bit of pet hair in there as well. And we're going to run each machine with the brush bar, and let's just see how they perform. First, the NV752. Okay, picked up pretty well. Sometimes you have to lift the vacuum up a bit on the backstroke to get the nozzle over top of some debris. Now the 682. Okay, required a little bit more of lifting that nozzle up to get it over top of the debris, and even so we found just a tiny bit left behind. Now a quick test on pet hair. This is a fairly long white dog hair that we've ground into what is more of a medium pile carpet, so it's a little deeper. Now we've ground this into the best of our ability, jumped up and down on it, twisted it in, tried to get it really dug in there. We'll run the NV752 and then the NV682, and let's see what happens. Okay, pretty much no problem there. NV682. Yeah, same thing. No issue at all. Let's just take a look at the brush roll. I know that sometimes these have a tendency to get jammed up with this particular pet here, certainly. And indeed, you can see that all raveled up in there. This stuff comes out quite easy. If you had to, you might want to take the brush roll off and get at some other, sometimes there's something in there that's a little tougher to get out. And I assume it's the same for the 682, or for the 752, yeah, same thing. Now we're going to see how the pet power brush performs. Again, we've taken a lot of that white pet hair and ground it into the carpet. Let's take a look and see how this guy does. Okay, it's done a good job. It's gotten itself majorly clogged up with this pet hair, but I know this particular pet hair has a habit of doing that to pretty much any brush roll. This is not motor driven, and you can feel it bogging down a little bit as you're vacuuming, but it still did a really good job. The only thing I would say is that the stretch on this hose here is pretty short when you're using it as a handle, and you can see that you haven't got a big long reach. Now we're going to run the vacuum on a hard tile surface. We have the same kind of debris here. We've made an effort to get a lot of the really fine dust into these cracks just to see if the machine will be able to suck that up. The vacuum will have the brush bar off. That means it's in hard floor mode. And let's see how it performs. Okay, it's done a good job. It obviously has no issues at all from a suction perspective in getting stuff out of the cracks. We did notice, again, just a few little things left pulled backwards on the vacuum again. It's a small thing, but it does tend to leave a little bit of debris behind it unless you kind of lift that nozzle up and get it over top. Now, another test we always like to do is to see how well the machine cleans up tight against the baseboards. If it doesn't get up tight against the baseboards, you may have to go over the edges of a room with a crevice tool or some kind of brush, and that just wastes time. So let's see how well the machine performs. Okay. Well, it has no problem with edge cleaning. One thing we would like to point out, however, if we look at the nozzle here, and with it you can see that. On this side, you'll notice there's some writing that actually says edge cleaning. There's nothing on this side, and that's because that brush roll is actually much closer to the edge over here than it is over here. So if you want effective edge cleaning, you're better off using this side up against the edge. So what did we like about the NV682? We like the fact that this machine is quite lightweight. It's also got a HEPA filter and a sealed system. We like the 30-foot power cord. It's got two nozzles, the Dust Away Pro and this motorized floor nozzle, and they both swap out really quite easily. Also, we've got on-off brush roll controls up here. Allows you to turn that brush roll on and off, which is good if you're doing carpet and bare floors. Lift away mode, this is also a really handy feature. The filters on the vacuum, we've got 3 filters on the machine and they're all washable. It's also a fairly maneuverable machine. We tested it against the NV682 and we actually preferred the maneuverability of this one. It's not particularly noisy either, and that's nice. It's got plenty of suction. It pulls up pet hair easily, and when we use the pet power tool, despite not having a motor, it still did quite a good job at pulling up the pet hair. And the edge cleaning, it did a fine job on edge cleaning. Now, what things didn't we like so much? Well, It is a 3-in-1 machine, and the upright mode and lift-away mode are great. The canister mode is a little bit weak. The canister unit that you pull behind you doesn't maneuver that well. The hose itself also feels a little on the short side. When you're using tools and stuff, if you stretch it too far, you will pull the vacuum over. The dust canister, while it works just fine, is perhaps a little on the small side. And we did notice, and you saw that on the carpet and bare floor tests, that the nozzle, when pulled back, had a tendency to pull some debris back with it. Now, having said all that, we do believe this is a fairly good machine. We would describe it to some extent as a lighter and perhaps less heavy-duty version of the NV682. It's also about $100 less expensive than the NV682, and so it's quite a decent buy. We've noticed online that owner ratings for this vacuum are very good at this time, so that's also a good sign. Now, one other thing we'd like to say just quickly is we've called this by its model number throughout the video, which is the NV682, but it's also very popularly known as a Shark Rotator Powered Lift-Away Speed. The NV682 is commonly known as the Shark Rotator Powered Lift-Away TruePed. So it's a good little piece of information. You can read a lot more about this vacuum and others also on vacuumcleaneradvisor.com. Thanks. Hi. Today at Vacuum Cleaner Advisor, we're going to look at the Shark NV682, and that's the machine here in blue. You'll notice its bigger brother over here is the Shark NV752. Now, the NV752 tends to be a little larger and a little heavier than the 682. The 682 here is 13.3 pounds. The 752 is 15.6 pounds. This machine here has a 30-foot power cord. It's also got HEPA filtration, and it has something called a sealed system, which ensures that the air that enters the vacuum doesn't leak out in cracks or seals before it goes through that filtration system. And that ensures that the air exhausted by the vacuum is clean and it's been properly filtered. Today, we'll look at some of the features, specifications, run a few tests, compare it in some areas to the NV752, and we'll also walk through the tools that come with the machine. The vacuum comes with a host of tools and attachments. The first device here is called the Dust Away Pro, and it's actually a second nozzle for the vacuum. You can swap these out. We'll show you that in a moment. There's a microfiber dusting pad, comes with the vacuum, and that fits onto the bottom of the Dust Away Pro. And these little black tabs here are like Velcro, and dusting pad attaches on 4 of these tabs. You want it to be pretty tight because you want the underside of this thing to be smooth. You can see like that. So this area here will be against the floor, a bare floor, and this head actually floats. It helps it glide over the bare floor. The front of this is a suction channel, so there's where you're vacuuming while you're dusting. This is your basic crevice tool with a dusting brush that extends out and back. This is a brush tool, but it's got fairly stiff brushes. Now this is interesting because they've designed it so that the brush piece clips off and you end up with a tool here that's really good for removing pet hair from upholstery. And then it